It's the Green Rush Nation podcast. I just had the bluest dream that you've ever seen, and I can't believe that shit was green, cause it hit so clean, and my history is a mystery. I don't give a fuck, I just hit the tree on the 5th degree. We don't pit for free. If you don't got 5 shit, get up and leave. It's the Green Rush Nation podcast. Yo, what's going on, guys? We're back with another episode of the Green Rush Nation podcast. Today we have a very special guest, our friend Katie from Lavinia.
Yeah.
Perfect, I got it. That took 3 tries, but we're here. So how was the travels in? I know you came from a far distance. So,
Fabulous. I'm so happy to be here.
We appreciate you coming in. So what we do here, we don't want to just know about your great product and your business ventures. We want to know a little bit about you personally. So do you remember the first time you ever came in contact with marijuana, and how did you ingest it?
This is actually a great story, and that's a great question. So the first time I ever consumed, I was at my friend was having a Christmas party, and he had a volcano, and I knew nothing about cannabis.
What a great introduction.
Right? And this was a long time ago, and I didn't know anything about it, and unfortunately, he didn't really educate me. Not that it's his fault, but about cannabis at all. And so I did a hit, and nothing happened. And so I immediately did another one and another one. And I took 6 hits within 2 minutes. And I laid down on their bed, and I literally couldn't move my arms. And I said, this is absolutely miserable. Why would anybody do this? I don't understand this. Yep. And I didn't touch cannabis for probably 10 years because of it.
I believe it. And that's a typical story. A lot of people get scared. I got scared shitless the first time I smoked, especially thinking man, I know people that drive. How would you ever drive and smoke? I can't even focus on anything right now, So it was a mind-blowing thing for me. Were you a late bloomer or were you an early bloomer?
For cannabis consumption? Yeah. So late. So then I didn't touch it. Like I said, it was miserable, and it took me, hours. Overconsumption of cannabis is the worst experience of all time. Oh, yeah. It really is. The anxiety that it causes, not being able, losing control of your limbs. Yeah. So then I started to incorporate cannabis again in my life when I was training for a marathon. Okay. So I started using it just topically for balms and things like that. So that's kind of how I reintroduced it. Cannabis can be great for inflammation. There's so many healing effects of cannabis. So that's kind of when I started. And
you just mentioned, you don't need to smoke it or eat it. You can rub it on and not get high.
100%. Yeah. I actually still to this day don't consume in public because I was so traumatized by my first time that I do it in the safety of my own home, where if I overconsume, I can lay down. Absolutely. And it's fine.
Hey, God bless, wherever we're comfortable to do it is where you do it.
Amen.
So that's interesting though, because I think edibles are another traumatizing thing for people who maybe don't smoke so much or don't smoke at all and want to try it. We hear horror stories, people get into it and they get way too high. So it's interesting that you ended up starting an edible brand. But how did that come into fruition? I'm sure that was years down the line, but so you started incorporating it for your marathon, and did you instantly get a business idea, or it took a little while?
I did a ton of research. So when you're training for an athletic event, you have basically all the days that you're going to train, and then you have recovery days. And it especially for a marathon, it's intensive 2 to 3 months of training and planning and things like that. So I decided that I ran one and I hurt myself really badly. I broke my foot. It's not a fun experience all the time. And so when I decided to do a second one, I decided that I was going to have a different approach to training, a different approach to recovery. And so I started researching things that I could do in particular for recovery, and cannabis kept coming up in my search. And so I started reading about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I made a cannabis balm in my kitchen just for myself. And I was using coconut oil, and it was amazing because within 2 to 3 minutes, I was having knee pain or back pain. I would put it on and my pain was just gone.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I was just dumbfounded by, this plant that one time caused me so much anxiety that I was never going to touch it again, to all of a sudden incorporating it into my recovery. Again, topically based, so I didn't have a psychoactive experience. And then from there, in my research, I read that you could use it to enhance the sexual experience. You could use it as a cannabis lubricant.
Okay.
And I had never heard of this before. And I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But I was using coconut oil because coconut oil emulsifies in cannabis really well. So, you know, they're peas and carrots. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
But it's not a great lubricant. It can cause yeast infections and all kinds of not great things. So I actually went to a dispensary to try to buy a cannabis lubricant just for me. I didn't want to start a company. I didn't want to, I just wanted to consume
curious.
it. Yeah. And what's so funny is that I couldn't find one. Somebody said like, oh, you could potentially use this, but again, it was coconut oil and it had grapefruit in it. And I'm like, you can't put grapefruit up there, but there was just nothing available on the market. And so I started making my own lube in my kitchen just for myself. And I was bartending at the time. So I would give it to like regulars or friends and just being like, here you go, try it.
Yeah.
And then I was bartending one night and this guy walked in and I'm so thankful for him because he literally started a company. He said, hey, are you the weed lube girl? And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. And he's like, hey, that's really cool. Like, my friend tried it and said it was awesome. Do you mind if I get some of that from you? He's like, I'll totally buy it. And as soon as he said the word that he would totally buy it, that's when I knew this had to be a company, because I personally went to 3 different dispensaries to try to buy sexual health and wellness products, and I couldn't find anything. And then I have a random guy that had enough guts to go into a random bar to ask a random bartender to buy a
Funny. That's funny.
Yeah, so that's how the company kind of got started. And
pretty cool. Definitely an interesting background. So after that, did you go into business with this guy, or you kind of just started your own?
No, I gifted him. I actually happened to have some on me, and I gifted it to him. And then I kind of from there started to do a bunch more research. I really wanted to know a lot about cannabis, about the industry. And then from there, I met with some investors and pitched them the idea, and they were like, "This is a great idea." And then I started R&D. I really wanted to make sure that we were entering the market with the best possible product, and so we spent about 1.5 years. I worked with a PhD. He's like, I call him the Walter White of weed. He's amazing.
Very cool.
So we got very scientific with everything that we were doing.
Beautiful. And with that, what is in the gummies? Like, obviously they're edibles, but what is in it that like makes it for like sexual?
Sure. So there's kind of 2 aspects, actually. We initially launched with a lubricant.
Okay.
So High, what's in the middle right there, that's a silicone-based lubricant.
Okay.
And then we also have Hello, which are lube launchers. So it's an apparatus to get the cannabis lubricant wherever it needs to go. You can use it vaginally or anally.
Okay.
And then from there, we actually expanded to gummies as well. So what make our gummies different and a sexual enhancement is that we add horny goat weed, maca root, and long jack, which are all designed to be vasodilators. So what it's going to do is it's going to increase blood flow throughout the body. We also use live resin. We use all natural ingredients. Essentially, we use no dyes, no harsh dyes, no dye,
Perfect.
all of that stuff. We use live resin, and then they're also in the shape of lips, which is very cute.
Very cool. I did actually notice that when you gave me some. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, I ran into her at the Nothing But Fire event, and she showed me her gummies, and I'm like, you have to get on the podcast. This is something that people need to know about. So how long in the process? When did you start this, by the way? What year was it?
So we started, I started R&D in 2019, and then we were ready to launch about 2020. Actually, probably a little bit longer than that, but we started ordering packaging and things like that, and unfortunately COVID happened, and COVID put a good solid 11-month speed bump in launching.
That's a bummer.
Yeah,
because you guys probably would have killed it. The people were bored.
I know.
They needed something to do.
Amen, right?
But that's super interesting. I've never seen anything like it personally. Are you in stores? Like, where can people find this?
Yeah, we're in about 200 dispensaries across the state.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Where any big locations, like chains?
Sure, a ton. Cookies. You can actually go to our website, lavinia.com, and then go to where to buy and put in your zip code and see what the closest dispensary to you is. But we're in pretty much all the major markets.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a product that should get more light and recognition. Have you had any of your customers reach out and tell you like their experiences? Was there any wild stories that you've heard?
Yeah, it's very funny because the sexual experience is very personal and intimate,
sure.
and everybody has a different comfort level in talking about it and
Absolutely.
a different approach. And I went into a dispensary and introduced myself to one of the bud tenders, and she started crying, and she said that she couldn't experience pleasure anymore. She had some trauma, and she said that she thought that she was just never, ever, ever going to be able to be orgasmic again. And
Wow.
she said that with these products, she's able to. And she literally cried. She said, "I was so hopeless. I was, seeing a therapist. I was trying everything I could, and there was nothing." And it's really incredible when you hear these stories, because the reason that I created the product and the brand, and kind of, to be honest, the niche in the industry, there really isn't any other sexual health and wellness
Definitely
companies.
not, yeah.
So it's like carving a lane that doesn't exist,
For sure.
a path that doesn't exist. But when you hear these stories and people talk about intimate details and cry, and another woman that was like 55 or 60, she had the same thing where she was like, "I have never had an orgasm before."
Wow.
55 or 60 years, that's a
crazy.
long. Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah, right?
I couldn't. But so this helped her even?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She was able to with this product.
God
So,
bless.
yeah.
What do you think that is? Like, you think it's just because the higher stimulation?
So it's twofold. So for the lubricant, what it does is, when you smoke weed and your eyes turn red.
Yes.
So vasodilation is happening, which means the size of the blood vessels are increasing, which causes increased blood flow.
Okay.
So the same thing happens when you apply this topically below the belt. It causes all the blood flow to go in that area. When you have increased blood flow, amazing things happen. So we actually have scientific data. Part of the 1.5 year R&D that we went through was that there's a vibrator that's called the Lioness that has sensors on the side that records the pulsing of the vaginal walls during a sexual experience.
Okay.
So we actually have quantifiable data, because it's really hard to, say what this sexual experience was different than this one. But when you have quantifiable data to show,
Absolutely.
here's the graph, this is with an unmedicated lubricant, and then the red is with our OHI cannabis lubricant. You can physically see the difference.
For sure. And she did show me the graph before, and I was able to see the difference. So we'll pop that up on the screen so that you guys can see the difference as well, because it's interesting stuff. And now, obviously, applying it topically helps you. What about like the gummies? How does that affect the different experience?
So the gummies do something very similar, where the horny goatweed, maca root, and long jack add to the vasodilation to get the blood flow going. So that's essentially what they're designed to do too. It's really great when you pair them together, because the gummies give you that psychoactive head high as well, which makes feeling touches and things like that feel really cool.
Okay, interesting. Definitely things that I haven't even thought about. I've definitely thought about like smoking and then enjoying sexual experiences, but I didn't think like a gummy and getting high would be beneficial, because I think the opposite. I'm like, damn, maybe I'll get too high and not be able to perform. But is the dosing low on these?
So we use 10 milligrams of live resin, so they are quite strong. So we actually on the package say to take half a gummy to start, but that's for people that are
New.
Pretty solid cannabis users. Well, five. It depends. Hopefully, if you've used cannabis before, you have an idea of your tolerance.
For sure.
Because of my first experience, I always say err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
If you're brand new, I say take a fourth of a gummy just to test it out and see how you feel. Gummies have the thing where if they affect everybody different. So don't overconsume, because sometimes you take like half gummy, you're like, I don't feel anything, and then you take another half and then you're toast.
Yeah, now it's over.
Yeah.
Yep. So you actually brought it up before. This is like a sensitive topic for people, and edibles is kind of like a thing. Like I said, people could be scared of it. So that's two things that like are kind of like, I don't know, people don't want to talk about or people don't want to do. What kind of obstacles did you face with trying to start this business?
So many, but also I think that you just have to, when you start something with a purpose, you just have to go forward with that purpose.
Absolutely.
And when you have obstacles, I try to be really respectful of everybody and everybody's experience with, sex and cannabis. And some people don't want to talk about it. Some people are very open talking about it.
For sure.
So, there's a huge part of this is education. So that's kind of, we put a lot of time and effort and energy into educating people about like why you would want to use a cannabis lubricant, how it's different than normal, lubricant,
For sure.
what it can do and things like that. And it is interesting because some people, like I personally don't smoke. I consume edibles. That's my way of getting high, or drinks, right?
Beautiful.
Because I start coughing, and I was an athlete for a long time, so smoking just doesn't pair with me. So it's kind of fun that in the industry right now, there's a way for everyone to consume any way that you want.
Absolutely.
Which is
There's
really
options.
exciting. Yeah, options. Even what I would like to see grow is the health and wellness section of it. We're on the sexual health and wellness side, but we're also expanding to just the health and wellness side, because there is so many ways in which cannabis can be so beneficial.
For sure. If you use it in the right way, it could benefit you a lot. I use cannabis every day, and I feel like it helps me just in general. People say that it can make you lazy. I feel like it makes me energized. I kind of need it to get my day going.
Coffee.
THCV. Yeah, it's my coffee, yeah. And when I used to drink coffee, it used to just lead to not good things. I'd have stomach problems, and then why would I start my day like that every day? And I did. I thought I was a grown-up. I was like 19 years old, going to work every day, grabbing coffee on the way, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Not at all.
But I think that there is, I think the biggest challenge, actually, since you asked about this, is going against the stereotype of cannabis consumers.
Okay.
Because there is a stereotype of like, you're lazy, oh, you're this, oh, you're that. And it's like, that isn't the opposite of what cannabis is. Cannabis is so beneficial for so many people, and it could really benefit a lot of people, but they're not really open to consuming it because they have heard the stereotype for so long.
For sure.
Or if they overconsume and they have the experience I did, where they're like, that was miserable. Never doing that again.
That's why, to people who have maybe overconsumed on their first time, what I say is give it another try. Just because for me, it took me like 2-3 times before I really was like, oh, I like this, because it gave me that anxiety feeling. I don't even know what it was. I just was paranoid, and I didn't like that paranoia. So the first couple times I would smoke, and then boom, it would hit me, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not having a good time. And then it was like the 4th or 5th time I smoked, and I was waiting for that feeling to come, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna come any minute. I know I'm not gonna be having a good time in a minute, and then it never came, and I just had a great time, and I'm like, wow, so this is how it is to have fun on cannabis. And then ever since then, I just had good times ever since. So no more bad times. And so like anything else, give it a couple tries,
Exactly. And start off small. Start off if you're smoking something that has a low amount of THC, high CBD, low THC, or just so you start off small. But then also, if you overconsume peppercorn, if you chew peppercorn, it instantly brings your high down. So especially I accidentally overconsumed one time. I was testing gummies, and I accidentally consumed 40 milligrams, which for me is way too much. And I felt like I was in outer space, but I started feeling that, oh no, I'm going to have that anxiety.
Yeah.
And I went and I chewed 3 or 4 peppercorn, and it instantly, it has a chemical reaction, and it brings your high right down.
Interesting. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Peppercorn. I got to buy some of that. I haven't had the experience in recent years of getting too high, but man, those days of trying to make your own batch of brownies, and that was
is it 1,000 milligrams?
Oh
is
goodness.
it 100?
I didn't even know the measurements back in the day. I'm just like, half ounce. Oh yeah, that's good. Just throw it in.
Yeah.
And then boom, that was it. We would all be like, same thing. Oh, we're not feeling it. Take another one. And then we'd all be like, oh. But I had fun. Those were the good old days, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because when you're young and dumb and you don't know, that's when you learn, and you learn the hard way sometimes. So it's fun. But yeah, I think this is super interesting. I think a lot more people should know about this because, man, does this help people with erectile dysfunction as well and stuff like that? Obviously, you said helps with blood flow, so similar to Viagra.
Yeah, so I have to be really careful to not make any medical claims. So I'm going to say you consult a doctor.
Okay, absolutely.
Because that is quite dangerous. But what it does is it's designed to increase blood flow. So that is a lot of people come and use it as a more natural alternative to some pharmaceutical drugs. Absolutely. I realized that you can actually use it as a pre-workout too. too, which I
Okay.
had never thought of when I was
That makes
creating the
sense, though.
product.
Yeah.
because it's kind of similar, right? A sexual experience, a workout,
For sure.
But it's funny because a buyer told me, he was like, I use your gummies for pre-workout. And I was like, oh, really? And then he said, yeah. He's like, a lot of my friends take a fourth of Viagra or Cialis
Yeah.
because it gets the blood flow going, it gets the pump. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And we actually changed our marketing strategy, and we tell people that you can use it as a pre-workout too.
There you go. On the side of health and wellness,
Yeah.
Beautiful. So yeah, I was actually just doing a panel the other day, and we had a guy on there who did like organic juice, and he was a big believer in that. He's like, just like your cannabis should be organic and shouldn't have any bullshit in it and all that, like the juice should be the same. So I think it's really cool that you keep all the bullshit out and just the good stuff in the gummies.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Amen. Thanks.
Any advice you have to someone who maybe wants to get into this market? Because obviously this is pretty niche, I don't think I've never personally seen anyone else. So what advice do you have if someone wants to break into just the cannabis sexual health industry?
Yeah. I mean, I guess do your research.
Okay.
Provide value. That's kind of what we do as a company, is we try to really heavily research like why we're making the decisions we're making, and adding value to people's lives is really important to us.
Interesting. And I just have a question about the studies. So how did the studies go down exactly?
Well, we did, when we first were starting, there's a lot of questions. For example, we started with the lubricant, and there's 3 basic foundational types that you can use. You can use a water-based lubricant, silicone, or oil-based.
Okay.
Oil-based is not condom compatible and sometimes can cause yeast infections and do crazy things. Like that's the coconut oil.
Gotcha.
So we decided we didn't want to go that route. And then water-based is a really cool feeling lubricant, but in order to get the cannabis to emulsify in a water-based lube, you have to use nanotechnology.
Okay.
And nano tastes really bad. And I know everyone says my nano doesn't taste. You can't tell. I always can tell.
Okay.
And so for me, I didn't want to use nano. We did about 6 months of R&D. We tried it. People that did the R&D were like, I had to go brush my teeth, and we didn't continue the sexual experience. And I was like, okay, no.
Yeah.
And so then we were kind of like, we chose silicone because we felt like that was the best option to have the strongest performance product that, is the performance. It's really silky feeling. It's really long lasting. It's waterproof. So it lasts for a really long time. So it's great for both vaginal and anal use. Anal use, especially, you want to make sure that you have a lubricant that it doesn't evaporate, or you don't have to necessarily reapply it because you can really hurt yourself.
For sure.
So we kind of started from there, and that's when we decided to do silicone as our base. And then we kind of went out to friends and family and people that I knew and trusted that they would give me honest feedback, because that's the other thing is like for a beta testing group, you're not necessarily sure if people are always going to be on the up and up, or will just be nice to you, but then not give you true feedback.
For sure.
And then from there, we just kind of went from there. And the only requirement was that if you could use it solo or with a partner. If you used it solo, you had to consistently use it solo. And then if you used it with a partner, it couldn't be a new partner. It had to be a partner that you've as an established partner, because we wanted
You needed a sexual standard, like baseline.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. And then we used the vibrator, like I'm saying. So then we had
That's where my real question was. Like, did people you sent them home with like a kit, and there was like a control group? Okay, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So then we could say like, oh, this one, and so it was very scientific, kind of how we did everything, which was really fun.
Very cool. Interesting. And how long, you said that was about a year, that whole process took?
It was about a year and a half. And the reason why is because we did like I said, we did the nano, we did different strengths of
Trial
this
and
stuff.
error,
So trial and error, yeah.
For sure. And how receptive were the stores when you were approaching them? Did anyone give pushback at first? Like they didn't want to carry the product?
No, actually, there was another company called Foria that was on the market for a really long time, and they used coconut oil as their base.
Okay.
And they actually left the market the month that we launched. So it was kind of really perfect timing, because we would be like, oh, did you carry Foria? They're no longer available, but we are, and we use medical grade silicone, so our product's better, in my opinion. So yeah, and honestly, we add a lot of diversity to dispensary shelves, because there really isn't another sexual health and wellness brand. Other brands kind of do like maybe a one-off product here or there,
For sure.
but that's really the goal of our company and brand.
Do you have any like other products possibly coming out in the future besides just what we see here?
Yeah, absolutely. So our goal is sexual health and wellness, but we want to also expand in wellness a lot. So we're kind of doing R&D for a bunch of stuff to kind of figure out how, again, we can add value to people's lives.
Beautiful. Very cool. And now, is there anything that you want the people to know about your brand?
Just that we take a lot of care, time, effort, energy into making sure that we produce a really strong product that we're proud of.
Beautiful. And education for bud tender wise, do you guys do a lot of that?
Yeah, you have to, because there's certain things, like for example, for the lubricant, there's a 15-minute to half-hour onset time that's really important to the success of the product. It really needs that time to dilate the blood vessels and increase the blood flow.
Okay.
So if you don't leave it on long enough, you'll have like a really silky feeling lubricant. It feels really good, but you won't get the enhanced experience of the cannabis unless you leave it out long enough. Well, people have used lube before, so you don't tend to read directions if you've used something before, because
For
you
sure.
know what, you know how to use it.
Yeah.
So that's like something that we've had to really educate people on, is that, the onset time, how it works for the oh hello. There's a few different applications for that. Oh hello, you can use it. So we have oh hi, which is like the vaginal one. We have oh hello, which is the launcher, the lube launcher that gets the apparatus that gets the lubricant wherever it needs to go.
Yep.
And so you can use that vaginally or anally. If you use it vaginally, what it's going to do is cause all the blood flow to go to that area. It's for enhanced G-spot orgasms, or some people have used it for period pain relief. Again, that's a medical claim I'm not making, but some people have said that they use it for period pain relief, and they experience a lot of relief that way. If you use it anally, what's really interesting is the portal nerve could absorb the cannabis, which could give you a really amazing psychoactive head high, which it almost feels like every touch feels amazing. Like when the wind goes by, it really gives you like a body sensation, which feels really amazing.
Interesting.
And some people have also used it for lower back pain relief and have experienced pain relief too.
Okay.
So that product kind of is really unique and requires a lot of education to really understand how to properly use it in the onset time and things like that.
For sure. And now this might just be stupid, but obviously if you do use it anally, would it hit you faster?
That's
Only
not stupid.
reason I do say it is because like when you said that, it made me think of like, oh, the people that like butt chug to get like really drunk really fast,
Yeah.
I guess that would be the similar effect. You get higher faster.
100%. And that's not stupid. That's 100% accurate.
Okay.
Everybody has a different endocannabinoid system, and cannabis interacts with everybody's differently, right? So there's we try to say there's no one size fits all for it. But in my personal experience, it's like 4 to 8 minutes, and then you start to feel the effects of it.
Okay.
But again, it's very interesting because anally, there is a chance that you could not get a psychoactive head high as well, because again, the cannabis has to be absorbed by the portal nerve. So if you don't insert it high enough, you might not get the actual head high about it.
Very interesting. Like I said, I never thought of that. But now I'm thinking different things. So first time people, where can they find your product? Orange County, San Diego, up north?
Yeah,
all
everywhere.
over the place?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So we're pretty evenly distributed throughout the state. We're still expanding and growing. But again, the best way if somebody wants to find out where to buy is to go to our website. So it's OHLAVINIA.com, and then go to the where to buy section. And then you can either put your zip code in or your address, and it'll pop right up, or the city where you live, and it pops right up. I would just make sure and call the dispensary just to make sure that they have it. We also are on weed maps, so you can look at weed maps as well.
Okay, beautiful. And now say 3 to 5 years down the line, where do you see the direction of the company? I know you said you want to focus a lot more on health and wellness, but where do you see your company in about 5 years?
I love this question because it's like I have 10 years planned out.
Okay. Hey, tell us the 10 years.
But really, honestly, I think I'm a firm believer in cannabis, and I really love how it can so positively affect people's lives. It can give them tools to have a great life. I know somebody that has MS that was wheelchair ridden and now can walk freely.
God bless.
Because of cannabis use. Yeah. So it's, for me, I really think that expanding into the health element and figuring out where we can add, like I said, add value to people's lives and create really innovative products that don't exist, that that need to exist. You know, I want somebody else to be like, hey, are you the not weed loop girl, but something girl? You know?
Yeah, for sure. And how do you go about marketing this?
It's really interesting because of the fact that we're a sex-based product and a cannabis-based product. We're kind of like, we have a great deal of limitations. We have a great deal of limitations just in terms of our marketing and advertising. Like any traditional thing where if we would be allowed to, but for cannabis, we can't because we're a lubricant or sexual-based product.
Gotcha.
So it's really interesting because my approach to it is to try to normalize it and also be really respectful of people's views. And try to say, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to consume these products. You don't have to think it's right, but it's here. And in case you ever want to learn more about it, here's the education behind
Absolutely.
it. Here's the scientific data behind it.
The proof. Yeah.
The proof, yeah.
For sure. Do you ever see yourself doing like events based around stuff like this and like, I guess, just educating the people?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that we're kind of working on as well is doing like a sexual health and wellness education podcasts and seminars and kind of getting the word out there and really teaching, like educating people as to why it would work. Like you said, you've never heard of this. You're in the industry and you've never heard of it.
Exactly.
So somebody that's not in the industry has
definitely
never heard of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely interesting stuff. And speaking of the podcast, we'd love to help get the word out there. You know, whatever we can do to help you just get established and get a platform going, we're here for you.
I love it.
For sure. Any last comments that you want the people to really know before we do wrap up over here?
We love contact and communication. Feel free to follow us on Instagram. Reach out to us in any way.
Okay. One more question. Actually, maybe a couple more. But so this is obviously breaking into a new industry when it comes to cannabis and sexual experiences. Is there any tie to like maybe psychedelics? Do you know anything about that, or is there anything in the future potentially?
I mean, it's so funny. It's such a gray area, and we really do everything very by the book and legally. You know, we have everything tested like 3 times before it actually goes to market, and so it's a little challenging because psychedelics are currently very illegal, but it's the same. I mean, it goes along the same of everything that we're talking about. There is this great Netflix show. Did you see it ever? It's about psychedelics and just how there's so many amazing benefits for like mushrooms and psilocybin, and how people that have recurring thought patterns can do like a hero dose, which is like 6 grams or more of psilocybin, and then they suddenly
resets.
It resets, and they no longer struggle with either PTSD or like their addiction that they once thought that they could never rid themselves of. So the problem is because it is illegal, so they haven't been able to fund research like they should, they really stopped doing a lot of research, and research and scientific data is really key to education and knowing and making decisions. And so if we don't have the research behind it, it's very difficult. But personally, I'm a big fan.
Absolutely. Damn, 6 grams though sounds like a hero dose.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, you're gonna go to outer space. And
that scares me. Like honestly, just losing control. That's what I would be scared of.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's done in a university, university controlled environment with a professor who's administering it. It's done in a clinical way. It's not just like you're with your buddies on a camping trip,
getting lost in the woods.
Where did big guns go? We'll find
He's
them somewhere.
in another dimension. Have you had any pushback from the CBD industry?
No.
Okay.
No.
Great.
No.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's very different, right? And there's so many different. Yeah, that's a whole bag of worms.
For sure. Do you ever see yourself getting involved in maybe the hemp side of things?
I mean, and unfortunately, you almost have to to survive, because right now cannabis is there's a lot of challenges in the cannabis industry, and so to survive, you have to almost create a hemp line, which is what we're doing. We're working on that right now. Yeah.
And would that help you obviously get into other states? I'm sure.
And that's exactly right. Yeah. So I think what's going to happen personally, and my hope for cannabis and the California cannabis industry, is that it's currently a Schedule I drug, which is the same as, heroin, all the bad drugs, right?
Worst.
I mean, even I think cocaine is Schedule 2. So it's funny, but in the U.S. government's eyes, cannabis is actually worse than cocaine, which is hilarious in my world. But
which
in my
is
mind,
funny though, because if you ask any of them, they would say no, that's not the case. But in law, it is.
It is the case, yeah. But I think if they do change the schedule, if they do Schedule 3 or Schedule 4, I think Tylenol with codeine is Schedule 4.
Yeah.
That will change the game, because what that's going to do is it's going to not make it federally legal.
Yeah.
And so state by state, they can still choose if they want to make it legal or not legal. But interstate commerce is going to change the game for cannabis brands, right? Because if I was able to sell my product where it was legal, it would be a much, it would just change the landscape of cannabis.
Absolutely. Now, do you think, say now you are allowed to sell in all 50 states, do you think this kind of product competes with like regular lube?
I think it's so much better than regular lube.
Great. I would love to see this over like regular lube one day. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean the reason why is, again, in regular lube is great. There's nothing wrong with it. For example, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't use this. If you're breastfeeding, you shouldn't use this. There's certain limitations. Absolutely, you shouldn't always consume cannabis. And if you can't, if you're in a federal job where you have drug testing, like there's certain reasons where regular lube will be great. But this really, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It literally causes all the blood flow to go to that area. And, again, you can look at the scientific data that we've done to show.
So obviously, I know you don't want to make any medical claims, but as far as Big Pharma goes, they should probably be a little bit scared, because this could definitely replace some products that they push,
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I learned a lot. So far. So yeah, any last things you want the people to know? Like I said, just before we wrap up over here.
Yeah, I mean, just we're planning on launching the hemp line in 3 to 6 months. So if you're watching this from a non-California state, you will be able to purchase us.
Beautiful. Right on the website?
Yeah. We're going to switch our cannabis website to another thing, to mylavinia.com, and then we'll have the hemp website be olavinia.com.
Perfect.
So you can still look at Olavinia, and hopefully in 3 to 6 months,
beautiful.
You can be a consumer if you'd like to. You can be part of our community.
Hey, if you're interested in just a new sexual experience, definitely check them out. The lube, the gummies, whatever fits your style. But we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate your time. I learned a ton, so if I learned some, I'm sure other people learned some. Yeah. So where can the people find you? Got any social medias you want to shout out?
Yeah. So olavinia.com, OHLAVINIA.com. And then we are on Instagram at o.lavinia.com.
Beautiful. Go check them out. Unfortunately, that's it for today's episode, but tell your mother, your brother, your sister, go like, subscribe, because honestly, we can't do this without our support from everybody, and we do appreciate the support from everybody. We've grown so much over these last couple months, so thank you. Shout out to you guys. But that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
I just had the bluest dream that you've ever seen, and I can't believe that shit was green, because it hit so clean, and my history is a mystery. I don't give a fuck, I just hit the tree on a 5th degree. We don't pit for free. If you don't got 5, shit, get up and leave.